All right, welcome. Sorry for the delay there. I hope you guys having a wonderful weekend. Today is January. I'm getting my years right now because I wanted to make sure I didn't say like 1984 or something like that. It's January the 3rd, 2026, and welcome to a brand new broadcast. Yes, they're saying it's a new year. The year thing, what calendar, all of that, I just don't know. But basically, welcome to the. I guess this is our first. Would this be our first broadcast of 2026? Maybe it is. Well, anyway, while we figure it out, let's go ahead and get some music and let's get some people and let's get some people on deck before we start with the news today.
Yeah. This one's for every queen who thought a crown was too heavy to wear. But baby, that crown was built for light.
You twist, you turn, you tuck, you side. Mirror talking, why can't it just lie? But I see galaxies in every curl. A sacred pattern, baby, that built the world. They said too coarse, I said too divine. High quality always takes time. Girl, your roots run deep as history. That's more than beauty, that's ancestry. You may think your hair's a curse, but I see it as a blessing. You've been stressing with that pressing, but your essence, baby, that's the lesson. Let your crown glow, let it breathe, let it show. Crowns aren't meant to be covered, no. I don't care what the others think, we just wanna see you happy. I'm happy, cause that's how I know it's true. Learn to love your crown, baby, I'll show you how. That's for see the sun hits right on them coils so tight.
All right, we're going to be starting here in about a minute. Again, I hope you guys had a wonderful day. It's a great day out here today in sunny Arizona. Just wanted to have this up on the screen first for you. We'll get into that in a little bit.
With the rhythm that your curls beat, you say it's hard to manage, but art always takes some damage. Still you shine through all that pain. Girl, that's power in your mane. Let your crown glow. Let it show, let it show. Crowns aren't meant to be covered, no.
All right, another 20 seconds and it will start.
Happy, cause that's how I know it's true. Learn to love your
Crown, baby, I'll show you how. Hey,
that's legacy in motion.
legacy in motion.
That's melanin devotion.
Melanin devotion.
Straighten what was made to rise. You were born from the sunrise. So let it twist, let it bloom. There's a whole universe in your room. You don't need their approval. I see you clearly.
Foresee,
I see you.
baby, I foresee you. Baby, I foresee you. Hey, well, welcome to another broadcast. So glad that you guys can join us here. And like I said, again, another beautiful day out here in sunny Arizona. Temperature got up to a little over 70 degrees out. It was mostly cloudy, but we had peaks of sun here and there, and it was all good. Had spent some time outside. My daughter challenged me to doing some handstands. And yes, guess what? I was able to do it. I'm still able to do it. Now, she was laughing at my format, but guess what? I did it. I was doing the handstands. Then I was trying to do, not just a handstand, but I'm walking. Now, I've never got that down because I'm just a bit chicken doing that because I don't know. It's that and backflips. Backflips is something I've always been very afraid of doing because I just see me going up and that spine just going snap, and I'm ending up like the dude that played on Superman. But I ain't trying to be funny. I'm just saying, I ain't trying to be that. I ain't trying to end like that, man. So nah, but yeah, that we were outside and having some fun, and it's still outside. I'm looking at the clouds right now, and they're doing whatever they're gonna do up there. And but we're here. We're here. Lots to talk about today on this broadcast. As you know, while many of us were asleep, the United States was outside spreading some democracy all over the world. And we're going to talk about that. So on one hand, the United States spreading democracy. Then we got people in the United States, talking about how we got to focus on the Somalian community up in Minnesota. I had one person come at me in the comments saying that, brother, we got to focus on them because they're stealing from your children and all of this other stuff. And I'm like, well, my children are fine. I mean, I get what you're saying, but there's some more pressing things I need to focus on. Okay. And we're not falling for the okie doke here. And like I said here on this platform here, our focus really is, it's not just talking about stuff, right? We want this to be very interactive. And I know, for many of you, you're a little bit shy. We do every now and then we do the phone call in and stuff. And I get it. A lot of people don't want to do that. But if anything, we want you to be students, meaning not necessarily students of me, but I want you to be students of history, being students of current events. And what I mean by that is you investing your time to go beyond the headlines, to go beyond what's coming out of this black mouth, and you do your own research. That's why we just opened up our library, a digital library, over 700 books. I'm still adding stuff. I just added something today. I'm not waiting for people. I'm not waiting. See, I was telling my wife the other day, I was just saying how it can be a bit frustrating at times because I tend to move very fast on things. And most people that I deal with don't. It doesn't mean I'm better than them, right? Because fast doesn't always equal better. It's just, we work at different speeds. For me, I'm a very if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm that guy. I'm gonna jump on it and I'm gonna do it. Most things, right? And I got a whole plan. I got this one to do. Okay, first step. Okay, so now when I give it back to you, it's kind of laid out. Now it's in your court, and so that's kind of how I flow. So when I'm putting information out like that, that's kind of how I'm going. So so that digital library, that information is for the people. It's for you. $9.99. That's it. One time. It's not a monthly fee. It's nothing like that at all. It's for you to invest your time, really, to learn about a lot of these topics and go behind the scenes than just kind of clicking off of what you see, that got the most likes. We want people to be highly educated on these topics, be it current news, or rather, be it geopolitics, be it health, be it whatever it is, around the way news. We want to know the full story, behind these things, right? And that's the approach that we take. So again, so glad that you guys are here. Really appreciate it. If you want to sign up for that, be a part of that digital library, make sure, just go to our community page right here on YouTube. Just on our page, you'll see a section that says post. Some devices, it'll say community. I think it says post. Just click on post. And on one of those posts that I have down there, you'll see one that says, that talks about it and the steps on how to get in. It's very easy, very simple. Like I said, $9.99. Okay, so today, yes, we're going to talk about this going on in Venezuela, what's going on there, and and the broader picture that's taking place there, right? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to look at, of course, I think we'll revisit what's going on in Somalia, aka Minnesota, what's going on there and the fear factor that's going on right now. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We're also going to talk a little bit about, because I was going to do a separate video on this, but this woman actually does a pretty good job in summarizing, giving a very brief history so that people can really understand what Zionism is. A lot of times people hear the word Zionist or Zionism, but you really don't know, because if you assume that all Jewish people are Zionists, that's not true. That's a wrong assumption. So we're going to make sure everybody's on the same page with that. And then if I got time, y'all, I'm so tired of talking about these preachers. I really am. Have y'all seen the video of what's the guy, the preacher down in New Birth, and him and his wife, they went in some New Year's thing, and she had some dress on where you could see, leaving very little bit to the imagination. And then he did a whole sermon on it and all this other stuff. And then I'm looking at the comments and I'm looking at the people and him trying to justify that and all of that. I do want to talk about that. But like I said, I was like, if I talk about this, I don't want to do a separate video on this because they're just done. I mean, it's over. What we know is the powerful black church. It's not what it's done. It's over. And I want to really talk about that from the perspective of a man. I want to talk about that. I've done that before. I mean, I'm a man, so that's the only perspective you're gonna get here, right? Unless my wife is on the phone, on the microphone. But on this particular issue, I want people to really, I want us to face the facts as it pertains to the black church and why the black church is in the situation that it's in. All right. So we're going to talk about that. And then anything else that we may have, we'll talk about that as well. I did have someone, thank you. Someone said Bryant. Yeah. And Jamal Bryant. I was trying to think of his name. I can't remember. Someone did ask me to look into the, have y'all heard about these monks, Buddhist monks that were like walking through down south somewhere and all that? I guess they're doing like a peace walk or something. As far as I can see, that's all it is. I don't know if there's anything else connected to that. They just, Buddhists have never been, I mean, that's their whole thing, is that they're about peace. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. But I don't know of them. I'm talking about at least here in the United States, but as far as anything else, I didn't really see too much there. It might be, but if you got any information, please share it, because I would be very interested in that. Okay, so let's talk about this, what you see on the screen here. Very, very quick. And then I'll give, I got a bottle here, so I'll talk about that. Okay, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away in 2019, this was right as the COVID thing was starting to ramp up. My wife and I, again, this was the birth of, at that time we were calling it Brew Gardens, but we'll say Samba Tree now. And my wife and I, we were so moved by the fact that, we saw what was going on, like a lot of other people. We saw the game that they were playing, right? And we said, no, we going to combat this thing, because, we fight here. I don't have time to be doing live debates with people and all that. My focus is, what's the real issue I need to be fighting? You know what I'm saying? And at that time, it was the propaganda that was coming from the government. And I saw the impact that it was having on our people then. And we also saw what's happening now as a result of that. And so we were looking all over for, okay, this has to be addressed from a holistic, natural perspective. If we're going to address this and provide real solutions, then we need to build something. And here we go. We got Samba Tree, right? So one of the things we did was, I'm not permitted, unfortunately, on platforms like this to say what soursop is good for, but there are a lot of benefits. And I know many of you know those benefits, right? Just look it up. But there are benefits that we've had, let's just say, have cured a lot of people of certain things. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not saying that if you're going to be 100% cured. I'm not saying that, but we have tons of testimonies from individuals that have emailed us and said they've seen the results. But I'm just going to leave it at that. But anyway, the the internet's #1 brewed soursop tea. We were looking all over for soursop tea, y'all. All over. I don't know about you. I go into the store, I see all these different manufacturers. They come out with their teas and all that stuff, right? And it's usually black tea, a black tea based tea, black leaf based tea, and that's okay. That's cool and all of that. But then you start reading the ingredients further. They got to put natural flavors in there. They got to put this dye in here. They got to put that dye in there. And we said we're tired of that. What if we came out with because the one tea we haven't seen out here is soursop tea. Now, many of you absolutely love soursop tea. We love it. But, like any other tea, it takes time to brew it, right? And so we had this idea. We said, how about we brew it? How about we bottle it? And how about we ship it? And that's exactly what we did. And so here we go. I have a bottle here right now of our organic soursop tea. I'm going to get into this a little bit later because I know many of you tuned in, not necessarily to hear this, but go ahead. If for those of you familiar with this, we haven't made this since 2019, y'all. And now we're doing this. I told y'all we're going to be launching bringing back some new things, launching some new things in 2026. But I'll get back to that in a moment here. And when I tell you this thing has been it was popular. It was extremely popular. We use reverse osmosis water, and we got two options. It's lightly sweetened with honey or unsweetened, where you can sweeten it yourself if that's what you want. We ship it frozen. Okay, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, we haven't found anybody selling soursop tea that's already brewed. We're doing it here at Samba Tree. So if you want to get some, this is the time to jump on it and get you some. Okay, so I got the link out there. Just go to sambatree.com and you can go ahead and check that out. Okay, so really quick here, let's start things off. Let's go to the my short that I posted earlier, and maybe I will let's start everything with that, and then we'll get into some of the other aspects of this particular story here. And let's see here. We will go to here. Let's bring this up here. And okay. There we go. All right. So let me turn that volume up here. This is the latest one here. Let's go ahead and play this, and then we'll get the party started. Okay, let's go.
Well, another war has just been waged in the name of keeping drugs off of our streets. It's time for a history lesson. Well, take a look at this map right here, and you can see that all the examples of regime change by the United States, many of these cases were done in the name of getting rid of drugs off of our streets. But it's kind of funny, that didn't quite work out for Black Americans in inner cities all across America. The drugs somehow continued to come. In fact, we had a straight pipeline from these very areas where regime changes took place. Let's go back even further in history. You remember the years that the United States spent fighting in Afghanistan to take down the Taliban and all of that? But somehow they were able to still keep the poppy fields still thriving and growing, and somehow the drugs just magically just kept coming to the United States. Well, let's go and look at Vietnam, another great example. Despite all the years and years of war that took place in Vietnam and the many lives that were lost, the United States still managed to protect this guy here who was a leading opium trader. And drugs were still not only coming to the United States, but there are many cases and many reports that talk about the massive amount of soldiers who were addicted to the product. And I forgot to mention, the CIA was protecting them. So before I go, let me leave you with this, because this is the Trump administration's own people who are telling you exactly why they went to places like Venezuela. Take a listen.
Of course, the countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, with Russia relationships. Why this region matters, with all of its rich resources and rare earth elements. You've got the lithium triangle, which is needed for technology today. 60% of the world's lithium is in the lithium triangle, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. We just have the largest oil reserves, light sweet crude, discovered off of Guyana over a year ago. You have Venezuela's resources as well with oil, copper, gold. We have the Amazon, lungs of the world. We have the 31% of the world's fresh water in this region too. I mean, it's just off the charts. We have a lot to do. This region matters. It has a lot to do with national security, and we need to step up our game.
If you listen hard enough, they'll tell you exactly why they're doing what they're doing, and it's not to get drugs off the streets.
All right, there you go. It's not. It is not about getting drugs off the street. Anybody that's out here celebrating, and I'm talking particularly us as black folks, because I've already seen them out there. People are like, yeah, did you see that? It was like lightning fast, man. Dude, did you see that? It was, if you blinked, it already happened, man. You know, go United States, man. You know, and people are just fist pumping, high-fiving. And I'm sitting up here. I don't know. Maybe I completely live in a bubble. Okay, I'm willing to accept that. But in the last year, Venezuela, I know sometimes I say Venezuela. I know. That's how I pronounce things sometimes, whatever. But Venezuela wasn't even on my mind last year at all. Like, if it was like, is that a country we would like to visit? If anything, that was it. I was looking at YouTube videos of people who was visiting there and talking about the food and everything else, if anything. But I never went outside and was like, daggone it, I'm so tired of this trash all over the place. And, you know, daggone it, those freaking Venezuelan people, they need to be dealt with. And Trump, he needs to do something. Or I can't get, you know, why is it that my cable ain't working? Man, those Venezuelans, we got to go after. I wasn't thinking about them at all. But you know, I'm listening to these people today, and they are talking as if this was been on everybody's mind. And I'm sitting up here like, man, did I miss out on a few conversations? Because last week, nobody was really talking about Venezuela. Now, all of a sudden, it was like, whoo, I'm so glad Trump dealt with that, man. Whoo. We are such a safer country. God bless America. I mean, Trump, man, you are really knocking it out the ballpark, man. I'm telling you, promises kept. You know, he's doing it. And so I'm scratching my head and I'm still like, okay, why? And the reason that is on the forefront of the Trump administration and what they're putting out is, well, he was the head of one of the largest drug rings, drug cartels in that part of the country, in that part of the world or whatever like that. And I'm like, Reagan was the head of a drug cartel. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Reagan was the one, and then had nerve to drag his wife out there and she told him, just say no to drugs. If someone comes to you and they offer drugs, just say no. That's it. That's all you got to say is just say no. That's it. That's all you got to do. Meanwhile, her husband, he funneling and pushing drugs all over the place. Come on now. Let's not whatever. And then you had the Iran-Contra affair. You remember all of that? Weapons and all that. And then they coke. They were getting those poppies. All of that was drugs. All that was all mixed in there, right? And here's the thing. And this is the gall and the audacity of this country. Here you have the United States was going into these countries, like you saw on that map there, and was saying all throughout these years, all those years. Let's see. I think I have it here. Let me see if I can bring it up here. And that would be on here. Let's see. Let me see if I can bring that up. If not, don't worry about it. There it is. Okay, so here it is right here. So here are all the military coups. Here are all the military coups over the years that the United States took part in. we gotta make sure we overthrow these governments here because it's for peace and democracy here in the United States. These countries could be used as setting stages for Russia to come in. Then it was Iran could use it for that, or now it's China is a big threat and all of this other stuff, right? And here's the thing. I mean, there's a lot I could say. Number one, if China is such a freaking threat to the United States, why is it that you and I could still order things from Temu? If it was such a big threat, why is it that you and I, we could still order things from China? No big deal. It'll come here in about a week or so, depending on, what you're ordering from and all of that. And I know Temu has, and Temu has warehouses here in the United States, China. So if China was such a big threat, why do we have Temu over here? If China was such a big threat to the United States, why is it that the military, those chips, a lot of those chips that they use in our aircraft, guess where they're made? Many of them are made in China. If China was such a big threat. But that's not the case at all, y'all. It's a game. Everything you're watching is a game. It is not real. It's a game. But anyway, back to this map here. We have been told over and over again that the United States has to intervene in all of these countries down here. One of the main reasons was because of the flow of drugs coming into our streets, all of that stuff, right? That's one of the main reasons they were telling us. But meanwhile, when it came to black folks, well, it seemed like they were able to create a secured pipeline to the United States, and particularly to a lot of areas where you had a high population of black folks. They weren't able to stop. It's like, oh my God. So they can send all of this heavy military. Think about it, helicopters and tanks and, paratroopers and, all kinds of big, heavy weaponry and all that. They're sending all of that down in South America. The flash and the awe and all that, right? They're sending all of that down there. But you can't stop Rayvon from getting his hands on packs of drugs. You can't stop him. And then on top of that, there was a whole culture, particularly coming from the right, that would just blame black folks and say, look at these, you guys are such losers. I mean, do something for yourself. Why are you you guys are always leaning to things like drugs and stuff? Just get off of it. Just get off of the drugs, y'all. I mean, come on, do better for yourself. Pull yourself up. And I got to admit, I was part of that crowd and would talk something like that too. But as I got older, I realized how stupid it was. Because here you have a population of people who have economically have been held down for years, and decades and years and years and years and years and decades and years and years and years and years and decades and years and years and years, been held down. And then while you're holding them down, mentally, psychologically, people are going to want to find some type of way of escape, especially when you feel like there is no answers, especially when you feel like there is no solution. So what do people turn to? And it ain't just black people. People do this, period. They turn to whatever vice that's out there that can give them a little bit of ease, right? And so this is what they were doing. This is why they went to the most vulnerable people, and it was pumping these drugs in these communities. But if you've been following this platform, and one day we need to revisit that book. Maybe I'll do a book club here, where we'll talk, where it talks about how the CIA in the 60s and the 70s was funneled, like at Woodstock and some of these other musical festivals. The CIA would be right there disseminating all types of hallucinogenic drugs to the people. All of them. And what we can do in that video, I did a video on this a long time ago, but I need to revisit this. What we can do is we can chart out or outline all those artists from back in the day and how just about a good percentage of them, their parents were tied. They weren't just in the military, they were in military intelligence. So a lot of those lyrics and stuff, it was coming straight from these folks here. Meanwhile, the CIA was sitting in the background and was like taking notes and records and stuff like that, studying these different, like artwork and the impact these drugs were having on artwork and artistic expression and things like that. It was one big experiment during those days. But where were the drugs coming from? The drugs were coming from the very countries that the United States was saying that they're down there to destroy so that it doesn't come on the street. But meanwhile, they were bringing them up here. They were still bringing them here in America. Same thing with Vietnam. In the video, I talked about that in that little short. In Vietnam, there's a whole big thing. And I was young, but I do remember hearing some of these things. But and I'm sure some of y'all can probably, who are older than me, maybe you remember this more than I do. But not only did you have many of our soldiers in the Vietnam War that were getting addicted to opium and things like that because it was so widely available there, but even when they came back here in the United States, they were still hooked on it. And it was because the United States, they're doing all this fighting and all this other stuff. But then meanwhile, they were like, but don't touch the poppy fields. Don't touch the opium. Don't touch it. And they did the same thing in Afghanistan. Don't touch it. We're gonna bring all the heaviest artillery. We're gonna bring all of these C-19 plane, whatever it is. We're gonna bring all of this stuff, bunker busters and all that. But don't touch the poppy fields. In fact, we'll let the locals know we're not gonna touch it. Of course you ain't gonna touch it, because that's a lot of money. So here we got Trump saying the same thing, that he is going to Venezuela because, we got to shut down the drug operation and all that other stuff. But let's get into some things here because, again, what do I always say, y'all? I know I say a lot of things, but one of the things I always say is what? If you're going to draw a line, you're going to need to draw a straight line. You're going to need to draw a straight line on that, because people say this stuff, but if that's a legitimate claim that you're going there to shut down drugs and stuff, the flow of drugs in this country, be consistent. And here's a video of an individual that's talking about a particular family that, for whatever reason, they were running drugs too here in the United States, but for whatever reason, nothing really happened to them. Let's take a listen. This is a short video. Take a listen.
The entire opioid epidemic in America was all due to one Zionist Jewish family, the Sackler family. They're responsible for the deaths of 500,000 Americans, and the severe addiction of between 3 to 6 million Americans, which had their lives ruined, pushed away from their families, living on the streets, and many even ending up in jail. Unlike the Sackler family, which in the end would not serve any jail time at all. In the mid-90s, the Sackler family produced a pill called Oxycontin, which could not get FDA approved because it was so strong and addictive that it was actually considered stronger than street level H. The Sackler family had to bribe the FDA into pushing it through, which there's blame on the FDA for that because they're supposed to protect us from this sort of stuff. And for the next 24 years, while receiving data that this pill was addictive and killing people, the Sackler family was still pushing pharmacists to prescribe it to their patients and pushing it out there to all everyday Americans to get addicted so that they can make insane amounts of money, billions of dollars. And the money that they gained destroying society and causing all this addiction, they used that money to put their names all inside museums, colleges, even hospitals. They even used that money to fund anti-Muslim groups and even funded big politicians, Republican and Democrat, like Bush and Obama, and helped to fund fellow Zionist Jewish politicians like Chuck Schumer and keep them into office. They used money off our destruction to promote themselves and keep their people in power. And how does this story end? We don't know how much money they profited off of this, but we know it was at least over $10 billion from how much they siphoned off their own pharma business. They received no jail time whatsoever. Their addict victims ended up doing more time than them, and they had to pay a $7 billion fine, which they still made a huge profit. They got away with this because they're a bunch of Zios, our court system's run by a bunch of Zios, and our media protects them, and they're a bunch of Zios too. They're all together, and they're all part of the same system that uses us and destroys us and profits in the process. And they don't care about us. They only care about themselves.
There you go. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. But we got to overthrow a government in South America because the street drugs that they're bringing into this country. We got to do all of that. And man, oh man, if you could see my timeline, the amount of people out here cheering over this. And it's so, y'all listen, once you get old enough, after a while, you should wake up to some of these things. Unfortunately, some people never do. But you should wake up to some of these things. How many times, I mean, what am I talking about? What's the typical thing that happened? Once the United States, after they invade a country, what's the first thing they show? Well, the first thing they're going to show is they're going to make sure that the people that are there, they're going to zoom in on that small crowd of people that's on a street corner somewhere waving American flags like, ah! You remember, in Iraq, you remember they did that in Iraq? The big thing I remember on CNN and then on Fox News and all of that, they were saying, will the soldiers be welcome as liberators? I remember they kept saying this over and over again. I was like, well, y'all shut up with all of this. Will they be accepted as liberators? More at 6, more at 11 p.m., all of that. And then they'll find like a few people. Well, now they're getting a little wiser. So now they're finding like people who, maybe was on social media already down there, maybe their families from down there. And, and you see, hi, I'm Alejandro, Gutierrez or whatever. And, as a proud Venezuelan, and then it's like, sir, your tea is hot right now. Would you? He's like, shut up. I'm not ever shut up, whatever. And he's like, oh, sorry. But as a struggling man of Venezuela, I'm just so grateful for what they're doing. And then you hear in the back, Fifi, shut up, whatever in the background, but they get these influencers that are coming out of nowhere and they're like, we're just so grateful for the United States and what they're doing. We have prayed for this moment. And already, y'all, people been out, like people like Alex Jones and some of these other people, they're like, thousands upon thousands of people have taken to the streets. And they're showing these videos of these huge protests of people in the street. The only problem is, y'all, those protests took back like 5 years ago. So they're like recirculating these old videos and people are already calling them out on this stuff. So, I mean, like any country, you're going to have some people that are pro and then some people that's against or whatever. That's, whatever. But daggone it, man. The United States went down there, took everything out, snatched the president and his wife. I don't care how he got into office. You don't went there, snatched the president and his wife. He already here in the United States. He already went through a court. They snatched his behind. And Trump got up here, was like, we're in control right now. Look at, we got he doing that rub. You know what I'm talking about. He doing that rub. He learned that from somebody. He already talking about, we got access to all the oil and all this, and we're going to be running things for a while. Who does that? And people out here acting like, yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And then, of course, the Christians, they're coming out saying, yeah, think about all the people. All the preachers now, the Christians now are now able to worship. They're able to worship the Lord now. They're able to do it now. And, and I'm sitting up here like, never heard of any serious persecution going on down there as it pertains to Christians. Never heard of that at all. I did hear something about he was putting some restrictions on the Bible or something like that. But please, this is South America, y'all. All of South America is heavily Catholic. So I doubt very seriously that they were just kind of just shutting everybody down and saying, how dare you, pray to Jesus or pray to Mary or whatever it is they do. Anyway, here's Trump here. And this is him telling you what he going to do. And they the victors now. So they get up here and let's take a listen to Trump and how he's doing that Birdman hand rub.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela, and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland.
So you hear that? He's just talking like, yeah, so what we're going to do now that we've taken over the country, we're going to do that. We're going to be running things, and then we're going to decide on, whatever leader we want to be in there. That's what we want. We'll decide that. We'll figure that out, and we're going to, this is what we're going to do. That's it. But we're going to take care of everything. So this one particular woman who has really been talked up, I've just recently heard, I think the United States isn't necessarily going to be considering her, but this should give you an idea of the type of person that they are at least considering. Her name is Maria Corina Machado, and she is a coup leader, one of the coup leaders or whatever that they had down here. But I want you to take a listen, and I want you to see what she is saying. I just want you to pay attention to, what she's talking about here.
And this is amazing, super exciting for me. We will open Venezuela for foreign investment. I am talking about a $1.7 trillion opportunity, not only in oil and gas, which is huge, and you know that the opportunities, because we will open all upstream, middle stream, downstream to all companies, but also in mining, in gold, in infrastructure, power. We have our grid right now has a 17 gigawatt opportunity of energy potential that needs to be rehabbed. Certainly for technology and AI and tourism. Venezuela has 2,800 kilometers of pristine Caribbean coastline ready to be developed. So this is going to be huge. We will bring rule of law. We will open markets. We will have security for foreign investment and a transparent, massive privatization program that is waiting for you.
Okay, all that sounds good, right? All that sounds good and everything. Then she's gonna, that's her plan and all of that. But there were a lot of things that was going on that was preventing Venezuela for, even having some of that stuff. And here is Hugo Chavez. He's kind of given a hint and a clue as to, as long as you had leaders in Venezuela talking like this, well, you weren't going to get too far anyway.
Nos acusa a nosotros, a mí me acusan de patrocinar el terrorismo. Son ellos los que patrocinan el terrorismo. Aprovecho para condenar de nuevo, desde el fondo de mi alma y de mis vísceras, al Estado de Israel. Maldito seas, Estado de Israel. Maldito sea, terroristas y asesinos. Y viva el pueblo palestino. Pueblo heroico, pueblo bueno. Usted no ve en el imperio yanqui.
All right, he goes on there, but yeah, you talking like that, yeah, you ain't gonna be there too long. And all of a sudden, I think he caught a case of cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, then he's no longer with us. But anyway, yeah, but this is exactly how they roll with that. All right, so let me move on here. Let me see. Give me just a moment here. Here is Netanyahu was already, because it's funny. When I was telling Nicole, I said, these people always tell on themselves. They're like, oh, how long is it going to take for people before they start blaming Israel for this? And they kept saying this over and over again. They said, I know people are already going to be blaming Israel for this. But yet Israel encouraged Trump to do that. I mean, you did. You did. And I mean, you know, but you're acting like somehow that people are just pivoting to that because they don't like you. Someone posted this map up here just to give you an idea of just how, from a geopolitical standpoint, how much South America is in fact changing. And as you can see right now, it's changing very rapidly, where they are making sure that they are installing leaders that first and foremost, they are Israel firsters. That's what they're doing all around here. And now you got Venezuela. Of course, that's going to be the next target, you know, on The Price is Wrong. And so, yeah, so that's going to be the next thing. But Netanyahu and, you know, Zionists have been talking like this for a very long time when it comes to wanting to make changes in places like Venezuela. So here's a video clip of him talking about that.
Well, they're in cahoots with the Maduro regime. You know, they're exporting terrorism to America, to the American hemisphere. And then they want these Hezbollah and Hamas to get their guys into the United States. So Hamas and Iran's and its proxies are a threat not only to us, but to Israel, all America's allies in the Middle East, and to America itself. Well, they're in.
So yeah, we've heard it before, and they're gonna keep on saying it over and over again that, yep, it's, you know, it was all, you know, we had to do something very quick, because if we didn't do anything, that this was going to be used as a launching pad, you know, to let's see, here we go. I'm looking for videos while I'm talking here. It's going to be a launching pad for terrorism and all this other stuff. And here's Netanyahu again, you know, because the latest thing they're saying now is that ISIS is all over the United States. ISIS is all over the United States, you guys. You better be careful. If you don't support Israel, ISIS might show up. Well, they've already told us about who created ISIS already. I had turned the audio down on that.
Tell the story about how you tried to find out what they call the Mossad when they deal with publicly?
I thought it was a reasonable question, but the trouble is you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, you know, CIA, or in our case, the Mossad. We thought we should ask, what shall we call it in English? You can translate the Hebrew words, as I said, Mossad is institute, but when they write a letter to their friends in the CIA or the British intelligence, what do they call themselves? It took a while. It was a matter of asking the Prime Minister's spokesman. The best you could do, because officially the Mossad is under the Prime Minister's office. And I think he sort of wondered why you want to know and all that, so we explained. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service.
Oh.
If it were to have initials, it would be ISIS. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. If it were to have initials, it would be ISIS. Wake up.
Oh, I know some of y'all, I'm sure quite a few of y'all have already seen that video, but anytime they bring up ISIS, it's Mossad. It's always Mossad. Anytime they bring up ISIS, it's always Mossad, y'all. You can't, I mean, and what they're depending on is for you to have a short memory, but we don't have short memories, and the internet certainly doesn't either. So they will always try to threaten people with this scare tactic nonsense and try to tell you, oh my God, if we don't do something, if you don't support Israel, if you don't support God's chosen people, oh, something's going to happen. And then you got Christians that will jump in. Yeah, the judgment of God is going to rain down on you. God doesn't play. God does not play at all. When you start talking sideways about God's chosen people, guess what's going to happen? Anyway, here we go. Here's another guy here that's confirming what you just heard in the last video.
John McCain, for heaven's sake, was over there with the ISIS officials. We created them. They came from the Al-Nusra group, the Syrian Liberation Front. These two organizations combined, and they morphed into ISIS. It's our creation. We create them. We still direct them. When ISIS warriors are injured in battle, where are they transported? They're transported, for heaven's sake, to Israel. They're treated by the Israelis in Israeli hospitals and brought back to battle.
Oh, there we go again. There we go again. The receipts just keep coming, y'all. I think 2026, I think we're going to call 2026 the year of the receipt. Because when I tell you folks are dropping receipts hard, they coming in hot, y'all. These receipts are coming in hot. And it's like and I keep saying over and over again, it doesn't work anymore. I keep telling these folks, I said, listen, the stuff that y'all been playing all this time, it doesn't work anymore. None of it works anymore. We got too many receipts. We got far too many receipts. Anyway, let me go to this video here. I already showed you that one here. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. So anyway, so you got that. So yes, Israel is very much behind this. There was another video that I was going to show you but I'm not too sure if that's a real video or not, because some people are saying it was AI, don't know. But the woman that I showed you that was saying all these great things that's going to happen now that America has kind of destabilized our country and all of this other stuff, right? I've seen photos again. I don't know if it's AI or not. She's already kissing the wall in Israel. And then she was also saying the first thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna establish a presence in Jerusalem. We're gonna get that back up and running again. The first thing I'm gonna not take care of the people. You trying to set up something in Israel. Folks, when you hear this stuff, it should be clicking like by now. What I've been telling you all along is true, is that the operating system of the matrix system is Judaism. This is the operating system of the matrix system that we live in. It is Judaism. I have never seen so many people run so hard towards that wall. It's amazing to sit back and to watch this. And they keep going harder and harder and after this. And let me go back and touch on this before I show this video that I'm about to show you. Isn't it something that what was I going to say? Dang, it just escaped me that quick. But it was something to do with Trump. Trump sitting up here saying that he is going to we're going to run an entire country. Now, I don't think if we were all to put our fingers together, if we were to put all of our hands together, I'm not making any hand symbols, y'all. Anyway, but if we were to put all of our hands together, I don't think we have enough fingers to label all the problems that we have here in the United States. But somehow they're able to clear all of that out and say that, okay, now we're going to run this country. So now they're saying the United States saying we're going to run an entire second country. We're going to run the whole thing. Meanwhile, you got all of this stuff going on here. Poverty and all of that still here. Anyway. So anyway, here is a video here. It's a kind of a video that someone put together of different clips. And this is what I'm saying when I say that the operating system of the Matrix is Judaism. This video montage, it's 11 minutes, y'all. We may watch the whole thing. I may watch like half of it or whatever, but I want you to really pay attention to this, because once you understand this point, you'll have a better understanding of all this other crap that's going on right now. Okay. It's about the system. And again, let me be very clear. Not all Jews it's not an accurate statement to say that all Jews are Zionists, because that isn't necessarily true. It's not true at all. You have numbers of Jews who say, I'm not with the Zionist movement, and like I said, again, I would love to one day I'll do a video on that. In fact, should I play that? Maybe I'll play that video first, because the woman did a really good job in explaining that in a very short amount of time. So maybe I'll jump to that first, and then I'll get to this other video here. Let me see if I can find that one, and then I'll jump to that one. All right, let me see. just a second here. Because did I save that video or did I? Hold on. Give me just a moment. Hopefully it'll pop up here soon. If not, I'll just go to the video that I can find. Because Twitter is, or X, it keeps doing the same thing. Like I'll have a video up that I bookmark and then it just disappears. It like, for some reason, oh, is this it here? Oh, this is it right here. It just throws it all out of order for some reason. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I actually looked that up and they say, yeah, it is a serious problem, you know, that they've been working on for years. But anyway, take a listen to what she's saying here. This will give you some more clarity as to understanding Zionism. All right.
When Nazis took a hold of Germany, the Zionists were the only Jewish group that would collaborate with them, while all other Jewish groups boycotted them, because Zionists only cared about colonizing Palestine. Even though Zionism was created by Jewish elite intellectuals and financiers, it was an extremely niche and radical and unwanted movement by most of European Jews. They completely rejected it. In fact, the first World Zionist Organization was supposed to be held in Germany, but the German Jews categorically didn't want it anywhere around them, so they had to move it to Basel, Switzerland. And when Nazis took hold of Germany, all other Jewish groups inside, outside of Germany recognized Nazism as the bitter enemy of the Jewish people and completely boycotted them, except for Zionists. And in fact, Theodor Herzl, the father of modern political Zionism, literally wrote in his diary, "The anti-Semites will be our most faithful friends. The anti-Semitic countries will be our allies."
Well, there you go. There it is. There it is. They, you know, she gave you kind of a good overview there on that. And it looks like it skipped or something. I don't know what happened. But basically, you got the general idea there, you know, kind of really bringing home the fact that not all, you know, Jews are Zionists. And that's a very important point to make. Let's go here. Let's do this. And then, like I said, again, I'll jump to that video in a moment here, but let me bring this up on the screen here too. And then we'll get right to our, to the video. We'll continue on what we're going to talk about later on. We're going to talk about what's been going on in the black church. This latest thing it's not even scandal anymore. It's just part of the plate, you know, and so we'll talk about that in a moment here. So here you go. Samba tree. This is our little quick Samba tree thing here. I told you in the top of the broadcast here, I told you we just reintroduced our organic soursop tea. Organic soursop tea, you guys. I have looked high and I've looked low, and I have not found any store that carries brewed. It's already brewed organic soursop tea. There is no additives. There's no, you know, natural flavors. There's none of that at all. And just real quick, I'll just go over it. What are some of the key points? We haven't been selling this. We haven't sold this since 2019, and is one of our most popular products out of everything we've sold. This thing was flying. Literally, we couldn't ship it fast enough. We use reverse osmosis water. So this ain't water that's coming out of a faucet or whatever. There's actually a process thing, a machine we have that will reverse osmosis and all of that, right? So we do that. It comes lightly sweetened, so it's not heavily sugar. So if you were concerned about, you want sweet tea, it's sweet enough. You know what I mean? I like teas that aren't heavily sugar. I don't like syrupy teas. That's disgusting to me, but like Lipton, I don't like that. But this is like just the right hit. And then it ships frozen. So when you get your box, it's going to actually have a frozen pack in it. One of them blue frozen packs, it has that in there. And what else we got in here? So, okay, I covered all of that. And it comes in cases of 5 bottles, 10 bottles, 15 bottles, or 20 bottles. And then I covered all of that right there. Okay, so there you go. And so I have a bottle right here. And we'll be shipping this out here. Y'all, I'm telling you, I haven't found anybody online even selling this. I've looked in grocery stores. I haven't found it. I mean, I'm like, Nicole and I was talking, we were like, did we really finally stumble on that one product that we can really really fly and this thing can really take off? I think so. So anyway, yeah, it comes in a bottle like this. It comes frozen, and then it'll come in with some instructions on, what to do and all that. It's good. It's good. It's already brewed. You don't even have to think about having to brew it yourself. Very, very good. Very tasty. And what we tell the people is before you close that lid, make sure you squeeze some lemon in there right quick, and then they close it up for us. Or some lime. Sometimes we'll have them squeezing some lime, just from real limes and from real lemons. That's what we do. But that's it. That's it, y'all. There's no other additives or anything like that. So this is the time now. Go ahead and get your orders in. That's over at sambatree.com. Also know that we are also doing our citrus sale right now. We're working with local growers all around here. That oranges, lemons, grapefruits we'll be having, and these things are very tasty, and they're seeded oranges, seeded lemons, seeded grapefruit, and I don't know if we did limes, but we're gonna see if we can find some limes this year too. And all seeds. That's all we deal with. We deal with seeds, y'all. And so and I didn't know that with Arizona. I found out when I came out here that Arizona was like huge when it comes to citrus fruits like the ones I just mentioned. But it's huge out here. And so we want to take part of that and get it out to you, so you're getting it directly from the farm to us. And then and there are many cases we're actually going to these farms and picking it ourselves. And it's like, okay, it's a picking day, so we literally are picking it same day. We're literally are boxing it and shipping it right to your beautiful home. So so make sure you check that out when you get a chance. Okay, that's again over at sambatree.com. I'm gonna take some more of that tea in a moment, but anyway, let's get on back here. And I appreciate you guys, everybody that's in the chat. Let me give a shout out to everybody that's in the chat here, so that I see you and all of that. Of course, we got Mackenzie in the house. We got Justice 85 151. We got Only Lonely 4601. Who else we got in here? We got Angie C 7079. We got Todd Wilson in the house. We got the Hidden Gem X21. We got Justice. I think I said just Calculated Crescendo in the house. Who else we got? Only Lonely, I already mentioned. Let's see what else. Mackenzie, the Hidden Gem. I already said that. Hidden Gem. We got my man, the drummer man, CTO Drums in the house. And then anybody else that's in there, welcome. So glad that you guys are here. Really appreciate you guys for joining us. Okay, so let me get to this video here that I was wanting to show you guys, where they're talking about this matrix system. And basically the theme that they're saying is that if you reject Christ, it's the most Jewish thing you can do. That's one of the things they're saying. But I want you to take a listen to some of the things that they're saying here. All right, take a listen. This is coming from them. It ain't coming from me. That's what they're saying. Listen.
Jewish salvation by virtue of our faith.
Other Jewish kids.
Wow. See, some of this I'm gonna have to stop, because this got to marinate. Think about it. Your parents, your grandparents, and some of you, when you pray, and you're meditating on him, it's a Jewish person. And like I was pointing out in the broadcast I said the other day, Jesus was the Son of God, right? And this is according to the Bible. He was the Son of God, but he was also Jewish, right? So if the Son is Jewish, what does that make the Father? Korean? Think about it. So this has been so implanted in our psyche, we don't even realize how much we look up to these people. It's literally baked into many people's minds. Even the concept of prayer for a lot of people They can't even think about prayer unless there's a Jewish person tied to it. I know it's, like I said, this is a hard hill to climb for folks. I get it. But Dwayne, the Bible says he's a spirit, and they that worship him must, yeah, it's a Jewish spirit. Waking up is a hard thing to do, y'all. I get it, y'all. I get it. All right, let's continue to listen.
You know, the world doesn't usually like Jewish people or Israel, yet they bow their knee to the birth of a little Jewish baby.
I gotta say this to you. It's the most Jewish thing. I mean, what could be more Jewish than celebrating the birth of the Messiah we've been waiting for 4,000 years? I mean, what's more Jewish than the birth of the Jewish, the promised son of David in the...
Christ wasn't a Christian not for one day. The Bible was written by 40 authors, wasn't a Baptist in the bunch.
Jesus was Jewish, and the apostles were Jewish, and all of the New Covenant, the New Testament books were written by Jews.
Jesus was a Jew.
It's Jewish. During the millennial reign, 1,000 years, every Christian on earth will be following a Jewish rabbi from Nazareth.
Every knee will bow, dude. Every knee will accept.
Play a few more minutes of this, but you know I got some Hebrews in the house that will say, no, the real Jews, when the Bible's saying that, it's actually talking about us, black people. You didn't write the Bible. How many times I have to go through this? You didn't write the Bible. Black folks were not writing the Bible. The Bible, first of all, even if black folks did write the Bible, every account that we read in the Bible, it wasn't written in real time. Literally, like the story of Moses, the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and all of these other stories, they were not written in real time. They were written like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later. That's like me writing me claiming to write an accurate story about someone who worked in a coal mine 1,500 years ago. There's no way in the world. All I have is my imagination and maybe pieces of fragments of records I can put together, and I can think of something. Just for my evening kind of research, it was just like a basic thing. Sometimes I'll challenge myself. I'll say, well, what are some of the things that are like low things I've always thought about, but I never really took the time to look it up. One of those things was, in the Bible, and there's many scriptures, maybe I'll do a short on this, where they talk about, and David thought to himself, such and such, or Peter, as he was walking down the street, he was thinking this or whatever. And the Bible goes through this whole thing about what this person was thinking. And so what I did was I went into ChatGPT. This is all just light evening kind of research for me, right? And I said, on average, the human being, I said, when I think of myself, on things that I remember or things I forget. Last week, I was thinking about a number of things, right? There were issues, situations, whatever, things I was figuring out, ideas that I had. If I didn't write it down, then chances are it's still in my head. Well, it's still in my head. It's just kind of buried somewhere where it's going to take me some time to remember that. So I'll remember the general gist, and that's how memory is stored in your mind. You may not remember everything. Most people don't remember every detail of anything. That's just how the mind works. When your memory, and we talked about this in our brain series, what it stores is giving you the general stuff, like the smells of the environment, or when you was thinking this, or whatever was going on at that time. It stores basically like the generalized version of it. And each time it comes back to your memory, you're getting a different angle of it. It's not precise and accurate word for word, but you're getting just a general, piece of it, right? That's kind of how the brain works. So we're not going to remember the fine details of thoughts that was going through our minds or conversations we were going to have. The brain doesn't work that way. But somehow we are to believe that the Bible was able to record the thoughts of people thousands of years prior for it even being written down. This is the kind of stuff I'm saying that we need to kind of be really thinking about. And there's too many things like this, what we're seeing right now, that we've just accepted because it's been so buried in our minds. We just accept it as reality. This is real. This is the real. What we're seeing right now, and for black folks, it's become so real. And when you're confronted with truth about it, okay, let's take the Bible and let's measure it to actual factual history. Let's measure it. Okay? Let's see what's real, what isn't. People are so locked into the biblical narrative on things that they cannot escape it. And so the only way that they feel like they can convince themselves that they've escaped it is by going through the Bible and looking at all the characters and saying all the characters were black. This is the black man's book. Well, you could say that all you want if that's what you want. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But the narrative is still there. It's still there. The same people, regardless of what, they still wrote it. You didn't. This book was written in an area where most black Americans did not come from. Our lineage does not come from those areas. We've talked about this many, many times. Many times. And I'll be more than happy, like I said again, to engage friendly in a very friendly way, all of that. But I've been doing this for years now. But yes, what was handed to you, what was handed to me was the operating system. It was initiated, particularly in men. We talked about this. The way you was initiated into this matrix system, I'm talking to you men, was by circumcision. Most of you were circumcised. And when you got circumcised, there was a bunch of psychological things that took place in your mind and in your body. And it also had an impact on how you interact with females. I showed you all of that. Medical, whole nine. I showed you all of that. But this practice, now circumcision isn't necessarily a Jewish thing. It's, you find it in multiple cultures. But in this construct that we live in the West, it 100% comes from them. Many of our parents, they just didn't know. They just said, well, it was in the Bible, so we just do it. I just let them do it. So this is how we were initiated into this system. And then after that, then they layered it with the Bible. And that's all you went with is the Bible, the Bible, the Bible, the Bible, the Bible, because the Bible told me so. The Bible told me so. That's it. I'm not going to question that God said it. I believe it, and that settles it. These people are telling you who it was written for and so every thought you have about prayer, every thought you have about meditating on him, it's all centered on them, not you. Some of this is not going to hit people until you get it on your own, in your own way. I can't debate you into the truth. It's not going to happen. And I know it's hard and difficult for some people, but it's the truth. It's true. Anyway, I'm going to play just a few more minutes of this, and then we'll move on to our next story here.
Of years.
And I apologize. Someone asked, I'll put the link in the, like I said, I'll try to put the link in the chat for those who want this link or whatever. But I'm going to download this video, and what I'll do is I'll try to see if I can take the music out because it's so distracting. And then I'll make it available, people, they want to download it or whatever. Okay. But anyway, let me go ahead and play it. I'm just going to play a few more minutes of it.
The patriarchs, they have the fathers, they have the covenants, all that stuff.
The Nazis trying to, there's not really Jews aren't as smart as they say, blah, blah.
Well, not kidding, but it's going to be like that for those people who keep mitzvot tzitzit. So the rest of the Goyim will be disappear from the world if they didn't do mitzvot, the 7 mitzvot of Noah.
Worship of the God of the Jews will be made.
All right, that's enough. I think you guys get the idea there. It's a hard pill, y'all. I understand. I get it. I know it's a hard pill. I totally get it. But it's time to wake up. We're in 2026 now. It is time to wake up. And, this platform here, I'm very committed even more to show you guys, continue to put out these as many direct receipts as possible. However ways I had to break it down, I'm gonna do it. I'm committed to that. Like I was saying on the post the other day, if I got to do puppet shows or whatever, if I got to resort to that, so be it. I'll do that, whatever. But but like it or not, this is, we got to start telling the truth when it comes to these things, because and the thing is that, I was telling my wife, I said, am I like, is this an obsession or something almost? No, it's just that it's tied in this system where we have come now, this platform here, we call it Samba Journeys, because, we're on a journey. This part of the journey now, we are now at the level of the operating system. Now we're looking at the nuts and the bolts of the system. This is where we are right now. And when you get to this level, now you're getting into all the technicals, and that's what is happening now. We're getting into the technicals of this system. And so these people are at the heart of that. So, and I'm seeing how there's so much pushback, even amongst our own people, black folks, when it comes to this topic. They will either avoid it altogether, or they'll go and pivot to, well, they helped us during the civil rights era, all of that stuff. But they'll avoid it. They'll avoid talking about these things. But we're not going to avoid this stuff because it's tied to how we function and operate now, Let me get to this, and then we're going to switch to our next topic here. This is a post that I posted, I think it was yesterday. Again, 100%, we're going to go right to their own sources. This isn't some weird source. This isn't some kind of extremist or anything like this. Bernard Postal, he was a writer for the Jewish Tribune, and he wrote this. This was about the 1924 convention of the Democrat Party was marked by bitter scenes caused by debate over a resolution that would have named the Ku Klux Klan explicitly. The resolution was defeated by a handful of votes. Oddly enough, several Jewish delegates voted against the resolution. Among these were Mrs. And then they named the three people there. These three delegates were also persistent supporters of McAdoo. One of McAdoo's leading supporters among the newspapers was the Atlanta Journal, owned and edited by John Cohen, who rumor has it was the son of a rabbi. Cohen has never admitted that he's a Jew, nor has he denied it, although he has said to be high in the councils of the Ku Klux Klan. Now, if your last name is Cohen, I don't see how you're going to try to be passed on as a Samoan. Or Puerto Rican. No, we already know. Anyway, but check this part out. Here and there, exposures of the activities of the Klan have revealed that the attorneys for the Dragons, the Kliegels, and other officials have not infrequently been Jews. Similarly, it has been shown that the manufacturers of the unambiguous Klan nightgown have frequently been Jews. This is in their publication. This is their publication. They wrote this. They wrote this. They said those KKK, the white hood and then the white, robe that they wore. They said more often than not, it was Jews that was sewing those things together. It was Jews that was creating that. And they said the lawyers for these leaders in the KKK, more often than not, they were Jews. They wrote this. I didn't write it. They wrote it. This is their publication. So what they're going to do? Deny it? You wrote it. This is your documentation. But we're supposed to take this, they helped us, to pass the law. Well, you could have did it. You could have fast-tracked it by getting on the phone or sending out a telegraph or whatever you had available back then, and call your cousins and say, y'all stop. But you didn't want to do that. Instead, what you wanted to put into the minds of black folks is that if you want to see real change, you can't do it yourself. I want you to pay attention to what I'm going to tell you here. This is why it's important to go back to this history. These individuals, and let me pull this up here because this is the individual I'm talking about here in this next one here. Hold on. This guy right here. Joel E. Spingarn. Joel Spingarn. I'm telling you, this is him right here. All right. This is the guy right here. Now, he is credited for being a leader of pushing these anti-lynching laws. Now, older black folks of a certain age, they look at that and like, oh, he is such a hero. He really helped us out there and all of that, right? But black folks, older black folks of a certain age, they just you forever are imprinted in our minds and in our hearts. But when we step back and we read about this dude, and it's all in the post, and I encourage you to read it. When you read about this dude, you know what his job was outside of the NAACP? Oh yeah, he was like one of the top board members of the NAACP. You know what his job title was? What his job was? Military intelligence. Oh, and it wasn't just military intelligence. He was part of military intelligence where they were focused on black movements. In other words, to monitor black movements. If there was anything that was going on, he was right there to write it down and to pass it on to Washington, D.C. That's why he was there. And the NAACP, what do? They want us to forget, to overlook that. We will just overlook that. They ain't just overlook it. They actually created an award, a merit award. See, that's why I got to slow down with some of this. Remember I was saying earlier, I just move fast on stuff, right? But I got to slow down because you got to make sure you're getting this. The highest award that you can give as an organization is a merit award, right? A merit award. The NAACP, their merit award, the NAACP supposedly is the front face of Black America, supposedly, right? That's what they established themselves as. So when the NAACP gives out a merit award, what they're saying is this individual represents the best of Black America. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying, that you have met or exceeded the good character of Black Americans, the best that Black Americans have to offer. You know what their merit award is called? The Spingarn Award. The Spingarn Award. That's the merit award for the NAACP. So what does that say? What message is that putting out? We're not even in a position to issue out, to measure merit in our own community without putting their name in it. That's where that comes from. So anytime someone, and then you can go on Google Images, you got black folks all over, celebrities, you name it, and they all holding up the Spingarn Award. They all holding it up like they just, I want it. This guy was military intelligence designed to, and part of his job was to monitor and to destabilize black movements. I mean, do you understand this? And the NAACP says, well, because he came in with some money, we're going to name an award after him. Do you see how this works? And we're supposed to just overlook that? They did. That generation did, but we're not. We're not going to overlook that. That's stupid. Stupid. You have no control even on who you say this person represents the best of Black America, you have no control over that. You've given it to them. Now, if I was to go to their part of town, and when they do their award ceremonies, I wonder how many awards they have with Bill Duke's face on it. I had to think of the blackest actor I could think of. How many awards they got? They got some black folks on there. You ain't gonna find that, but it's always the other way around. Always the other way around. And we're supposed to overlook this. But anyway, my point is that the reason why he's so celebrated is the fact that he helped spearhead the whole movement of pushing these laws to stop these lynching, to stop these lynching laws. Okay, fine, whatever. But the point is this: all this man had to do, he had government connections and he had money. All he had to do was get on the phone, call his people and say, I know y'all cousins, uncle, grandma, all y'all in the clan, y'all need to get up out of here. We got to help. We can't be doing that kind of stuff. That's all he had to do. But what did he do? See, now I told you we're getting into the electronics. We're getting to the motherboard here. So I hope you follow me. So what he did, along with a lot of the same other people in other organizations, instead of just taking the easy way, getting on the phone, telling these people, hey, listen, let's have a town hall. We need to stop this. Instead of doing that, what did he do? The messaging that he told Black folks is that if you want to see change, it's not going to come by me just simply picking up a phone. No, you're going to have to go through the government. The government is going to be your Lord and Savior in this. The government is going to be your answer. Don't look to me. All I'm doing is pushing you to the government, because what we're trying to do is to reprogram your mind to always think that if you ever want to move on in society, if you ever want progress, it's going to be the government. It's going to be a long, hard road. In fact, I'll even help you to write the song, We Shall Overcome. Someday, I'll even write that. But you're always going to be, it's a long road. I'm going up on the rough side of the mountain while your black is going up the rough side of the mountain. You got people in cars. They're going up straight up. You got people taking escalators and elevators up the mountain. But here's your tired behind. I'm going up on the rough side of the mountain. Why are you climbing? It's 2025. But you see what I'm saying? This is how they get it. This is how they've been getting Black folks. And this is why it's important for us to cover this stuff. So check it out. I'm gonna keep on posting stuff here. And what I can't post, like I said, everything is sourced. And I'm giving you the whole book, whatever articles or whatever, and I'm putting that all on our digital library. So make sure you check all that out, okay, when you get a chance. Okay, last thing. So said, how about going around the mountain? I mean, for real. How about that? Why you stuck on that? Anyway, last thing here. So we talked about the war stuff going on. We talked all about that, and then okay. So now, last thing here. Let me find this video here. This dumb, stupid, crazy video here. I told y'all I'm just Jamal Bryant, ladies and gentlemen. So Jamal Bryant. Let me see. Apparently, let me see if I can find a better video of him. Hold on. And when I tell you, I just don't care about this dude. I don't. But it is worth bringing up. Let's see here. I was trying to find it was another video I saw that was a little bit better. Okay, whatever. Okay, so here we go. Jamal Bryant. I'll just go to the bookmark that I had. Here we go. It's about 1:15 minutes. Anyway, so his wife, I think it was like a New Year's celebration or whatever. And, you know, she comes dressed in this, which you can see right here. You know, there's other videos or pictures they have. I mean, it has like that. I don't know if it's transparent, but it's full transparent. I don't know, but you know, whatever. So this is a preacher, right? And his wife is dressed like this for an event. And, you know, of course you had people online had some things to say, but there was a lot of people that actually was like, I don't know why people mad. You know, that's his wife and he should be able to do what he want, right? All right, so let me play this clip here and let's hear what his fool mouth got to say. Anyway. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Here we go.
The other day, the internet went crazy about a dress my wife had on. Now, they didn't say anything about the $4 million that was raised for the United Negro College Fund. They never mentioned that she prayed until heaven came down. But insecure, jealous, petty, small-minded people got in their feelings and set up a false barometer of holiness based off of a dress. The dress was not see-through. The dress was flesh color. I need to set the record straight. I bought the dress. And I like it. I don't care whether you like it or not. She ain't mad to y'all. She mad to me. If you wanted a first lady that looked like Little House on the Prairie and Holly Hobbie, you got the wrong church. I wanted a wife I would rush home to, that I wanted to be excited to see. When we walked in there, I said, shake it fast, watch yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's just very tiring at this point. You know, dude done literally ran through how many women? Done left how many women in the dust? How many children he left in the dust? And these people, members in the church, they just don't care. Like I said before, and I've said many times before, the black church is a black feminist LGBT organization, and it should be recategorized as such. Any black person in 2026 looking still at the black church for any type of hope or relevance in moving the black community forward, you're wasting your time. You're literally wasting your time. Now, as far as what his wife wears and all of that, I don't give two craps about what his wife wears. I really don't. It's not anything that left me up or whatever. He do what he want. But let me share this with you as we're kind of getting to the end of this, as we're into the broadcast here. Let me just share this with you. Like I told you, I said, I want to give a male perspective here on this, okay? Because I'm a man, why not, you know? But I remember growing up I grew up in church, and like many people who grew up in the church, especially if you're young, the one thing that we can all remember were the standards, the rules, right? There were guidelines and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, it would just drive us crazy, wouldn't it? You know, when you're young, right? We were children, you know, it's like, oh man, I can't even burp unless Sister so-and-so right there hand me a mint, you know, or whatever. You know, if I got to go to the bathroom, they all, what you doing? You know, it was just, as a child, it just, at the time, it felt overbearing, right? But as I got older, you know, after I graduated from high school and all that, I began to have an appreciation for at least some of that. Because you can, you know, many churches have a history of going too far with that, being a bit controlling and all of that. But, you know, if you spent enough time in the church and you get to know the people, because all people in the church aren't bad people, okay? I think you have people in the church that are well-intentioned, you know? And the people the churches I was part of, I saw that. I think you had a lot of people that were well-intentioned, and they wanted the best for the children. They wanted the best for young people. And so, you know, I grew up in a time, you know, and I'm sure, again, if those of you older than me, you probably have even more stories. Like, for example, when it comes to dating, for example, the churches I was part of, it was like, if you were interested in somebody, it wasn't just like, okay, we're just going to start dating. No, you had to go talk to the elders. You had to talk to an elder. You had to talk to pastor and say, hey, listen, or whomever, and just run it by them, so that you can, just stay in the loop, right? And sometimes they will also tell you, hey, listen, if you're going to go on a date, we're going to do the date. Our teen church, we're going to have a field trip. Y'all can sit together on the bus, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying? But them little dates where it's just you and her If you do that, it's going to have to be a group thing. Always going to have to be a group thing. And, a lot of churches were like that. And that's what I grew up in during those times, right? And as I got older, of course, it was like, you look back, some of that was like, okay, was that overbearing? But then when you start thinking about it, it's like, well, dang, that may have saved me from some things, right? So as a man, I really appreciated that, looking at that, there were guardrails there. There were standards. There were things that I could work in, right? It was a defined space that I can work in. You know what I mean? And it wasn't so willy-nilly. Men like order. Do women like order? Yeah, women like order, but they also like men who are order too. You know what I mean? Last thing a woman want to do is get married to somebody who doesn't have a strong appreciation for order. It doesn't make us better. It's just how we're made. I'm not better than my wife simply because I'm like that. But that's just how we're made. We tend to kind of lean in that direction, right? And so, and when something is disordered, right? A man that's got his stuff together, his mind, heart, all that stuff together, he's going to want to fix it. Right? Who's the person that oftentimes people in the house go to when something is broken? They usually come to the man. Dad, can you fix this? This thing ain't working. Honey, can you come here and do this, all this? And we just jump in, get our little toolkit or whatever, and we just done, because we want to bring things back into order. That's who we are, right? We want to get things back to standard. And for some of my brothers in here who love to, you really technical, whatever. Oh boy, I know you over the moon now with ChatGPT and all that, because now you can fix more things. I mean, ChatGPT will walk you through how to fix stuff. And it's literally giving birth to new mechanics and stuff out there. But anyway, and so as men, we like that, right? We like to fix things. We like to make sure, bring things back into order. Again, I'm talking men who are solid, who's got their stuff together, right? That's typically what you're going to see, a characteristic. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because when you go to the church, regardless if it's a black church, a white church, it doesn't matter. I hear a lot of Christians oftentimes are very critical of Catholics, right? Even though Catholics would consider themselves Christians, but anyway, that's besides the point. And one of the criticisms that they will levy against Catholics will say, Catholics, they can do whatever the heck they want. They drink and they do whatever they want, but then they always can fall back on confessional. They go to confessional, confess to the priest, then all of their sins go away. But the rest of the week, you just live like the devil until confessional. And this is something that Christians have criticized people in the Catholic Church for years about that. But let me bring this to you. Let's turn our attention to Christians. Catholics may have the priests, but Christians, you have the blood of Jesus. You have personal relationship with Jesus. And that's the other clip I was looking for, with Jamal Bryant. Oh, it wasn't really the clip. It was, I think it was in the comments. That's where I saw it. But the amount of so-called Christians, supposedly Christians, they kept bringing up, well, You know, that's her personal relationship with Jesus. You know, if the Holy Spirit inside of her ain't saying nothing, then, you know, then why is it your problem? Why are you worrying about it? If the Christ in her ain't got no problem with it, why you got a problem with it? That kind of thing, right? So what that has done is that it has opened the door up in Christendom, and it's always been there, where even Christians, there is no standard. There's no standard in Christianity. Nobody can make that argument that there's, when it comes to the areas of morality, that there's standards. There isn't. There aren't any standards. You have pastors and leaders and within the Christian world, they can be caught in the bed with a bunch of women, a bunch of men, a bunch of cats, a bunch of dogs, mice, goldfish, children, you name it. They can be caught with all of that. And guess what Christians will do? Well, hey, listen, they'll say two things. One, well, what is Jesus saying to him? You know, is the Holy Spirit still in him? You know, and then the other thing they'll say is, if he's in leadership, touch not God's anointed, do his prophets no harm. They love to use that. And the reason why they love to use those excuses is because they use those excuses on themselves. They use those excuses with themselves all the time. So that's why you see pastors all the time. They can get away with anything. But they say this stuff all the time. They literally do this stuff all the time. So getting back to Jamal Bryant, for example, like I said, number one, at this point, my mind has completely vacated the black church space. I've been done with it a long time ago. It's a pile of dookie at this point, and using breath to even comment it at this point, it's just, I feel like a lot of times it's a complete and utter waste of time. It is. But I wanted to mention this because of the fact that this is why you don't see a lot of men in these churches. You don't. Because men, when you see a man, in this case, Jamal Bryant, he can run through all of those women that he has run through in his life. He can abandon children like he has done in his life, his own seed. He can do that. But yet you can still get on the stage and collect that money and get all the howls from these women. You can still do that. A real man that's full of character, they're not going to have any appreciation, and they don't have respect for you either. They don't have any respect for you. A real man doesn't. That's why, what kind of men do you see in the church? Gay men. Gay men. That's who you see in the church. That's who's there. Gay men and women. That's the two groups that you see in the church. You're never going, straight men that are full of character, good character, you are not going to find in the churches. It's done. It's over. It might as well just go ahead and just officially re-register itself as a LGBT black feminist movement and keep it pushing. If you want to have the cross up there, go ahead. You want to put Jesus up there, you can make them black, white. You can give them an afro and give them a pack of cigarettes. I don't care. It don't matter. It doesn't. So people want to have these long discussions on what she's wearing and all that. It don't mean whatever. It's over. It's over. So what? Who cares? Who cares? And the reason why they can sit up there and howl and scream like that is because there's no standards. There aren't no standards. Not in Christian, there's no standards. It's whatever you want to do. Because you always got a bucket of blood you got a bucket of the blood of Jesus somewhere that you can just, I done finished doing whatever I did, but shoot, as long as I got the blood of Jesus, I pour that on me, I'm good now. I'm all good now. It is. That's it, man. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys here. Really appreciate you guys hanging with me in this broadcast. Remember, as you can see, I just finish my tea that quick. You ain't gonna find this, y'all. This soursop tea, organic soursop tea. Black folks, we make this stuff here. 100%. We're not putting any additives, preservatives, and all that natural flavors. None of that. It's just the leaves, the water, and it's lightly sweetened. That's what we put in there. It is very good. Check it out. Go to sambatree.com. And we still got a lot of other things going on there as well. So make sure you check that out. Keep your eyes on our community page. I'm going to be putting out more and more receipts. If you're not part of our digital library, make sure you get connected to it, because I told you I'm going to be putting more and more receipts on there. So make sure you're part of that too, okay? So again, thank you so much for joining us in this broadcast. You guys take care, and I will see you again next time. Take care now. See you again soon.